In with all of our teams on the ground. We know that she was evacuated during some missile strikes in Ukraine, and we're going to see if she's on the phone now. Is she available? Can you hear me now?
I'm here. I hope that my signal stays. I'm trying to tell my driver to pull over so that pulling over. Stop, pull over. No, okay. I hope you guys can hear me. We are just, on the other end of the border with Poland, evacuated overnight. You can see some of my team behind me where I went with a whole group of doctors and nurses with the Children of War Foundation to perform surgeries on kids that were 3 years old, 9 days old, all these kids that had heart defects. And so I embedded with them while also covering this war from the ground. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just perfectly. Thank you so much for making time to talk to us. I know that it's a very fluid situation there. And as you mentioned, you had to leave to get to safety. Just tell us a couple of the things that you've been seeing. I know that you've witnessed Ukrainian civilians being trained to fight in breweries there, continuing to make Molotov cocktails as a defense mechanism, albeit a very crude one, some might think, but effective at fighting off Russian forces. Are you seeing a lot of civilians actually who are going into the fight along with the military?
Oh, yeah, and they want to be. It's hard to describe how inspiring the people of Ukraine are. Just being there on the ground with them and seeing their spirit, their resilience. I went to this training camp yesterday with civilians who, one man I interviewed was a 44-year-old hotel service worker, and he said he wanted to be ready if the Russians were to invade their city in Lviv. And so him and other civilians that were just everyday workers lined up to train to fight and also learn how to do medical care, because if God forbid something started happening to their city too, where it had been a little bit more safe, but now we know there was a bombing just hours ago at their airport, but they wanted to be ready. So it was a stunning scene, and I'll share some on social media if anyone wants to see at Christina Pascucci on Instagram.
Well, thank you for giving us that. I understand a family actually welcomed you into their home. Is that right? Tell us about that story.
Yeah. Oh, very emotional because, they, in the grocery stores, the shelves were empty and they had supply chain issues because of the war and because Kyiv, which would normally be a major thoroughfare through which they would receive supplies, has been obliterated. And still, they had such pride in welcoming us into their home for dinner. They wanted to share, their traditional Ukrainian food. They wanted to share their culture. They wanted to talk about what was happening, and they were so open. We said, how are you feeling about this? What will it take for you to leave your city? And the resounding response I heard when I asked person after person that was that they don't want to leave. They want to stay and they want to fight. It is their homeland. And so Lviv, which was, like I said, considered one of the safer parts of the country, they were welcoming, about 200,000 refugees. That was kind of considered the safe haven up until earlier this morning. There had been a bombing about a week ago at a military training center that I'm sure you reported on, where 35 people were killed. That was 40 miles from Lviv. But now this bombing was at an airport in the city, just, a couple miles from where we were staying at a children's hospital. And so I know that is renewing a lot of panic for these people, because they were starting to feel a little bit, dare I say, not safe, because they knew anything could change at any time, but there was almost a sense of calm amidst the chaos of a war-torn country.
I have to ask you a question, because you're with several people in that vehicle, and obviously it takes a lot of folks to make these kinds of shots and this reporting possible. Who are you with right now?
Yeah, I am with, that is Drea. Drea, can you say hi? She's a former Marine, and I was introduced to her before this trip to bring her on and have a little extra security. During the trip, I couldn't reveal that she was a former Marine because of security issues. We didn't want her to be targeted, or our group to be targeted, if they knew U.S. military was within the borders of Ukraine. So that's her. And then a lot of the group Yeah, we've slept maybe 10 hours the whole week. So I don't know if I want to put them on camera while they're trying to sleep, but there's about 6 of them back there. Half of our team is still at the Children's Hospital, and this is our Ukrainian driver. Unfortunately, we don't have our translator anymore that we had while we were on the ground. Mark, such a huge value and became like family. His girlfriend lives right next to the airport. His girlfriend lives right next to the airport that was bombed, and he had told me just yesterday he knew that would be the first target, and he was very scared for her. And they heard the air raid sirens go off again this morning, 3 a.m., 5 a.m., like we have every day. And she doesn't have a bomb shelter, so she had to hide in the hallway. And they have what they call a 2-wall rule. So first wall is not the wall you want to be next to. You want to go within 2 walls within your building, because the second one will be fragmented, but you'll be much safer. So that's what she did, and she was okay.
All right. Well, I just want to thank you, and thank you for your reporting and giving us a whole different light. Obviously, Robert Sherbin has been doing a great job, but to have another NewsNation crew on the ground is vitally important as we continue to tell this story. And I don't like ignoring the fact that you're with these people. Obviously, we want to consider your safety, but there's a team there. I'm glad you're not alone. I'm glad you're safe. And you guys are headed to Poland, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we crossed the border overnight. We knew a bombing was imminent, but there was also a lot of other logistical issues that were frankly a nightmare, trying to get out of a war-torn country. So you can imagine just how tough it has been for these refugees dealing with the same logistical issues. But we had a ride, that person canceled. There's a lot. So
we're actually starting to lose your shot a little bit. So
we had to go to like Plan D.
Yeah.
And we piled into this vehicle.
There's a little
okay,
bit of a
no worries.
delay.
We're okay. We're now on the Poland side.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're on the Poland side. I'm glad you're safe. Christina Pascucci, again, thank you so much for all you're doing there. Please stay safe. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.